Alright, let's see. Oop. Alright, this journal entry for today is probably going to be very long. I am exhausted. So much has happened. Again, so much has happened, and I have been working very hard to get... Well, now that I have a task. Right, well, again, let me start at the beginning, continue on to the end, and then I'll stop. And I'm going to try to do it in a somewhat abbreviated fashion, because I'm just so exhausted. I don't want to spend an hour writing in this journal before I can sleep. Right, so let's draw some pictures. Here, I decided to make a proper underground base. This is my entry hall. This is going to be, I hope to replace this with some kind of transporter in the future, but for now, it's a ladder. And I think it came out pretty nicely, given that I'm not an architect. So, there you go. The rest of it looks like crap because, well, I still have to make it not look like crap. I wanted it to be functional. So I've got the farm down here. I have moved flowers down here. Apparently, yeah, I ended up getting my flowers overtaken by weeds. I wonder how that happened. And then there was a convenient black box sitting by the garden with many seeds in it, including wolfsbane, and I know who those are from. They're from Asteras, and I decided I wasn't going to take them. So I moved, and was hoping, because my door was protected, that he couldn't come down here. So that's why I moved all my flowers down here, and I'm going to move my food production down here as well. I did spend some time going today to the Nether to get... Well, I was going to try to find the stronghold, kill some blazes, but that didn't work out like that. I created a Nether portal, and it connected with KL's. So when you went through, you came out at mine, but when you came back, you went at KL's. So, yeah. Basically, I suspect anybody going through a Nether portal right now will end up at mine, because Kaz came through just after I went through. I guess it was a really coincidence, but anyway, he came through, and he was right there, and I was like, well, what are you doing here? So anyway, I ended up at KL's base. He had gone earlier and collected, I guess, the soul of blazes in some fashion, and fashioned a cage for them that kept rebirthing them. And so I ended up getting my blaze rods from there. And I'll show you right down here in my journal what that was in a moment. And I used one of those blaze rods in my mana pool to make a nether wart. And that's where my nether wart has come from. When I was in the nether, though, I did get a fair amount of nether quartz, almost a stack worth, so that's pretty good. And a little bit of gold and such there, which was good because it saved my behind for the other thing I was going to work on. I moved my lycanthrope friend down here. He is now in a warded area, courtesy of KL, and I'll explain how that came about in a moment. So he can't leave. I have these bars here as added insurance, just in case something fails. I like extra insurance. As you can see, he would really like to come out and eat my face, but he's not going to. He's much more amenable when he's not in lycanthrope form. And here, I have my botanical workroom. I needed the blaze rods in order to make the alchemical construct underneath there, so that I could do things like turn My brain's shutting down. These things, cocoa beans, turn them into seeds, among other things. Glowstone into redstone and vice versa. Actually, more of the vice versa. I need the glowstone. I can find redstone here. And I also set up a runic altar so we could then do more work, making other things, one of which I made upon the promptings of my spirit guides, a band of mana. It's something that I didn't think about because I did follow my father's art more than my mother's, and his preferred art was technological. And what I do know, I learned as a child from my mother, and some of what I remember doesn't seem to be correct. So either as a child I learned very badly, or perhaps this world has new rules. I'm not sure. This is a gift from KL. We are still on cordial terms, despite the events of today, which I'm going to talk about. I wouldn't say we're friends, but we're cautiously amiable, I think would be a better term. And it works fine, so I'm not having problems or dilemmas about using it. Through here is my new mana generation farm, and I just finished setting it up, and it's already getting a decent amount of mana. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy with this, and I can extend it if I need more, and I may have to do that. But overall, I'm very happy with how it's working, considering this is the first farm of this type that I've set up. So we have a tiny bit of mana being generated up there from the day blooms and from the night shades, but this is now going to be my main source of mana for the time being anyway. We'll see if we can come up with other ways of generating it better in the future, but this is going to do for now, and I need that power. I need it because I have a very important task. Alright, so now I'm going to talk about the events today now that I've finished describing the work that I've been doing. Well, this morning, well actually it's many mornings ago, it feels like this morning, but I decided to destroy Estheris' gifts because it didn't feel right accepting them, so I put all that witchery stuff in the box, and I moved it. I was going to try to burn it. Unfortunately, putting lava under the two black boxes did not seem to have any effect. And about that time, Kaz and KL stopped by. They were having a conflict of their own because KL thought Kaz had stolen some items from him. Just a few items, but they're ones that at the time were hard to get, so anyway, I was kind of trying to avoid their particular issue as long as it didn't involve me. They needed to sort it out. And as you can see, he's now back to his normal self. He's much better. Anyway, so they were arguing about that when I noticed one of the black boxes was gone. And that's when I started saying, so did you guys take the box? I mean, I was going to destroy it. The gifts, which I don't want, gifts in quotes, gifts with strings, I decided not to keep. And then they said no, they hadn't taken the box, and started questioning me about why I wanted to destroy gifts from someone. And then I had to explain that the person I received them from was, well, they weren't gifts without strings as far as I could see, and I did not want them. And then I heard a voice. It wasn't one of my spirit guides. It wasn't one of them. It was a different person. And this person told me that, as it turned out, it was a he. He had taken the box and not to worry about it. And then at that point, he said, but don't say anything. I'm paraphrasing this because it was much longer conversation and you don't want to hear it all. He said basically that I shouldn't say anything about him talking to me right now in my mind, because the seers were watching. And as I realized later, by the seers, and plural seers, he meant Kaz and KL. And I already, as I later came to find out for sure, but I already knew that KL had some dealings with Astheris, because Astheris said as much, and that he wanted KL as his seer. So I knew that meant KL for sure. I wasn't aware Kaz had also been contacted. So I didn't say anything. I just dissembled, and I told them that I needed to go and do some personal things. And when they questioned me about what I was going to be doing, oh, so what are you going to be doing? Oh, well, it's a female thing. And yeah, they didn't want to hear anything else. And so they went off to KL's base, I assume. So I came in. I came down here, and the voice had told me that to call out to him when I was down here. Well, not like loudly kind of thing, but to say he should come. And I did, and he appeared. He appeared right over here, right in the spot. And it was the other brother. It was Alair. So now I've met all three gods that I know about here. And it appears so far I'm the only one that knows that there are in fact three, and who they all are. Which is interesting. I guess it's because I had that chance to basically interrogate Astheris because of the division sigil, that I know all this, but I have been asked by Alair not to speak about certain things, and I believe that extends to Atera as well. So I haven't told the others because, as I now know, they are, for sure KL has fallen under the sway of Asthera. He accidentally called him his master. He's denied that he said it after, but we had a conversation when he said it, so I know that it's not my imagination, and that he wasn't quite himself at the time, mind you. But he... Well, I'll explain that in a minute. But he basically... yeah. He is now a seer of the god of death and darkness. There are gods here. It's hard for me to say this out loud. I've had trouble saying it the last few days here, but I'm pretty sure they're gods now. At least what gods are here in this place. And it looks like Kaz is probably as well, given that Alair called them both the seers. Astheris' seers. As I am Atera's seer. But they don't know that. They don't know that. Which is interesting, because while the brothers watch, and Atera can watch over all of us, they can't seem to watch when another is... one of the other gods are with us. It's maybe there's some kind of veil or something that comes over. Maybe they only get suspicious if they can't see somebody for a while, and then they're like, oh, one of the other gods must be there, and then they come and talk, or come and see, or could come and see in person, but they can't overhear it or overwatch it, or however it is they do that. Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling. Back, I'm telling you some of my conclusions here, which I've been trying to tell a story. This is going to be a terrible journal entry. Right, so... Jeez, my fingers are cramping. Let's see. Right, so Alair, the god of light, as he described himself in our conversation, was right there. He's standing right beside that, in fact. It was so cool. I have to admit, I purely enjoyed it. Just, although I was troubled by her situation, I purely enjoyed my meeting of Terra, aside from what they're talking about to me. Just the experience itself was wonderful. I can't really describe my experience with Astheris in the same tone of voice or enthusiasm. Right, the meeting with the lair. Well, I'll try to summarize it. Unfortunately, he's not as powerful as his brother. I don't know if that's always been the case, but that's how it is right now. Because he has escaped recently, I think, from the cage that Astheris had put him in with his sister. He says, it's my job now to free Terra because I've been chosen as her seer by her. That's a big responsibility. And that's why I've been working so hard today on making sure I have mana so that I can try to do what I need to do. Apparently he is easier to summon than his brother. I can actually just call out on a lair and he comes. So that is a very simple ritual, a ritual of prayer, I guess. And so he was bound to come and to answer my questions, but he was answering them willingly as long as he was able. And it seems there's actually rules that they have to follow. And at times he couldn't answer, but it's not because he didn't want to. It seemed that he wanted to, but he just wasn't allowed to. And I have proof now Terra can influence things materially from where she is confined, because when I showed this and the other silky iron pick to a lair, he said they were from a Terra, and I didn't have to destroy them, but he did approve of my action of destroying the items, or wanting to destroy at least the items from Astheris. But he wasn't able to help me out as to what art I need to find the ritual in order to free Alara. And he isn't always able to keep Astheris out, as it turned out, because I kept him here a little too long, and I guess Astheris got suspicious because he couldn't overhear me, couldn't watch me, and he showed up, and there was a lair. So I quickly as I could, I said, I release you to a lair so that he would be released and wouldn't be recaptured. And it worked. He very kind of garbled. It's very difficult to hear him, a lair, when he is not physically present. I guess that's because he's not as strong as his brother. But he did escape. So that was a great relief to me. Okay, so that was the first exciting thing that happened. And I'm really going to try to summarize the next part, because it's very long. And this journal entry is going to get so long that, well, I'm probably going to fall asleep halfway through, and that would be terrible. Alright, so when KL came by today, or not today, but when he came by, I gave him the sigil that I had activated. I warned him about Astheris, and I tried to appeal to him not to become his seer, but that was the first time he ever heard of anything about a seer, so I guess Astheris hadn't even really spoken to him about that yet. Unfortunately, he later in the day accepted Astheris as his master, because when I saw him next, he basically, apparently, he ignored my warnings. And I'm not surprised, to be quite honest, because it's quite clear that, to me now, that KL is from, well, shall we say, the opposite side of the coin as myself. And although we are remaining cautiously cordial and limitedly giving each other aid, exchanging favors, as it were, I know at some point that will probably change. Right, so then suddenly, after he left, he sent me a telepathic message saying he decided to take my werewolf, poor afflicted fellow here, take him away and basically confine him in a ward. And actually, he was going to put them in this ward here that I have now, because Kiel did provide that to me, as I'll explain how that happened. But he came and took him, just took him, said it was for my quote safety, and I was pissed. I said, bring him back right now. And that's when I found out that Astheris was now his master. That's what he called him. Even though he denied it later, that's what he called him. And that Astheris forbidded bringing him back. Yet he did bring him back. But not voluntarily, as it turned out. Because Astheris interfered, it seems Alair was now allowed to interfere, even though normally they're not supposed to do that. So Alair sent him out of my house. I thought he was trying to come to me to return the werewolf, but I believe I'm wrong now, because based on what KL has said and when I was thinking about it, because I think what actually happened, Alair was sending him to me to encourage him to return the werewolf, but of course he didn't want to. And when he kept teleporting away, as soon as he was there, he'd teleport away again with his magic. Then Alair apparently got pissed off and killed him? Or maybe he didn't kill him. At least not then. But something happened. Anyway, he came back. He wasn't wearing his... Oh, it's because he was invisible. That's right. He can't wear his armor when he's running around invisible. So he came back and very begrudgingly gave me back... In a golden lasso, gave me back my friend here, who I am trying to help and cure. Gave him to me. But on the condition that I would let him bring a ward to put him in to make sure he's kept safe. And now, like, once I had seen the blocks, I realized that it was a Thaumcraft thing, and that art I'm familiar with a little bit from my father's family, even though that's not the art he ended up following. So once I realized that it wasn't something from Astheris, I later agreed to have this put around him. But anyway, so I agreed this, but at the time, as soon as he left, I decided to move him. Move him from upstairs and hide him down here. That was... I won't say it's a mistake, but it caused a consequence. And that consequence was that when KL came back, he became frantic. I was shocked. He became frantic looking for him, yelling, "Where is he?" And he became so frantic, he actually dropped his spell book, which I picked up. All right, let me just think here. Okay, so when he came to get the book, I saw him. It seems he suffers from the same curse as my poor soul in here. Which shocked me because I wasn't aware of that. And apparently his spell book he needed to prevent the change. But I still was like, no, I'm not going to give you it back until you promise to leave him alone. And at that point, he wouldn't. He wanted him where he could have control of him, I think, even though he was in my base. He wanted to know where he was and to have access to him. So that's when he lost it. He attacked me. And he did kill me. He has magic. He has been, I guess, retain more knowledge than I have, and, well, I died. I had my focus from a Terra on me at the time, and I was distraught. I thought I'd failed her. I thought I'd screwed up so royally in my attempts to protect this guy that I'd ruined the chance to save her, and but then the gods intervened for what they could do. And oh, let's see, I felt a presence, and I suddenly felt very invigorated. Oh, I missed something. I'm sorry. When I died, I thought what was in my gravestone was protected, that only I could break the gravestone, but I was wrong, because when I came out, running out to get my things, where the focus in there, Kiel had broke my gravestone and he had grabbed everything there. But somehow I still got the book. His spell book, but he got everything else. He got the focus, and what is this focus? Or he didn't call it a focus, he says, what is this crystal? What is it? And I lied. I said it was something I found mining, and I liked it so much that I kept it, and that it looked similar to many of the crystals. There are many crystals in this world, but because it had something special about it, I kept it, and he believed me. As best I can tell, he believed me. Thank heavens, because that's one of the things I can't tell him about Atera, and now I know who his master is. I'm not going to. But yeah, that's when I became distraught, because he had the crystal, and if he realized what it was, if Astheris realized what it was, I think everything was sunk. But then, like I said, I felt a presence, and suddenly I found myself at a gravestone, and it was Kael's gravestone. One of the gods must have slain him, and I think it was Alair. I didn't know they could do that. And he later said to me that he was killed by Alair, so he thought. Or that he was buffeted by forces. Anyway, I broke his gravestone. I took all the things that were in there, including the focus. Thankfully, the focus was there. And when Kael came back to me and asked, that was at that point, he asked me where I'd gotten the crystal from. And so then I told him again I'd found it while mining. I just thought it was nice. Because I like shiny things, and that's true. I do like shiny things. I do like pretty colors, and that's my girly side. What can I say? So that at least was true, but where I got it from was a lie. And after extracting a promise from him to return leave my werewolf unmolested, because I missed something here, and hopefully I'll remember after to say it. Anyway, I returned his things, and the book he needed to stop from turning into a werewolf, which he told me at that point what it was for. And I told him I understood his desperation, but if he ever attacked me again, I would not forgive him. I would not give him another chance. And we basically agreed at that point that it was a misunderstanding in the heat of things. Right, I've totally forgotten what I was saying that I needed to talk about again later. Oh well, hopefully at some point I'll remember, because I'm too tired. This entry has got to end, and hopefully I haven't bored you silly. But I felt the need to write this all down. I think it's important. And so we are still, like I said, cautiously amiable. He does not know. He knows that the positive god, who he hasn't personally met, I guess Alair didn't appear to him when he slew him. At least not visually. Kael wasn't even sure that the other god was male. I guess Astheris must have said she at some point. So I haven't even told Kael that I know that there's more than two, or who they are. I'm being very cautious about what I'm sharing with him in that regard. Just as when he questioned me about the crystal again, I told him again I found it while I was mining, and that I just really liked it. It looked cool, felt really nice. I mean, I liked them, shiny things, and he seemed to believe me, asked me if I found the location where I found it again, to let him know. And I said, well, if I find another one, I'll leave it in the ground and won't touch it, and I'll let you know. Of course, I know I won't find another one like it in the ground, but fortunately, he has believed that. However, when and if he finds out the truth, he's going to be very angry, but I have to protect her. She chose me as her seer to help her, and how could I betray her by giving that information to someone I know is, well, as he said, the servant of her brother, her enemy. Although I think she loves her brother. I think she loves them both, and I think perhaps her role is to keep the peace. From what I've been able to understand, she has power over them. She can stop them from fighting. And that's why Asteris has her imprisoned, because he doesn't want her interfering with his nefarious plans of, well, basically destroying the world, as far as I can tell. He's the god of death and darkness. Guess what death and darkness likes to do. Anyway, so that's why I've been working so hard today, because my best guess as to the way to free her is through Botania. So I'm going to try the Elfheim portal first. If that doesn't work, then I guess I'll have to try summoning the Gaia Guardian, which is something I've heard about, my mother talked about, but I've never seen done. I have no idea if I could even survive. I know I wouldn't survive with my current equipment. I have a lot of work to do before I'm ready to do that. Unless I receive or find clues that indicate I need to follow a different art. Because there is a strange new art in this land. And the flowers and the rainbow forest that I'm residing in, those are all part of it. Because they all have the same kind of magic feel to them. And because I've never seen this magic before, I'm kind of wondering if I'm going to have to learn that and do some kind of ritual with that with the crystal in order to free her. And if that's the case, I still have to get as best prepared as I can with Botania. Obviously much better than I am now, because I was slain quite easily. And it was very embarrassing, but I died right over there. So I have a lot of work ahead of me. And that's why I'm so tired. Because I have been working very hard. I feel the responsibility. I'm hoping that if I can free her, that maybe we can restore a balance to this world that my world has lost. And maybe that's why we're here. Maybe that's why I'm here. I don't know. I did ask Alaire if he or his brother or perhaps his sister were the ones that brought us here. That was one of the questions, the rules of the gods. He couldn't answer. So I think I'm going to end this journal entry here. It's been very long, but so much has happened, and I had so much information I wanted to convey to you and thoughts. I think it's important. Because, dear journal, you are my record. And, well, if I don't write it down, if I don't record it in some fashion, it's not much of a record now, is it? Alright, well, I think I'm going to rest. Well, this concludes today's journal entry. Let's see what tomorrow brings. Good night.